At the southern tip of South America lies a place where two oceans meet and never agree. The wind never stops, and the sea is rarely calm. For centuries, sailors tried to pass this headland, knowing one mistake could end the voyage. This is Cape Horn, the ocean's deadliest shortcut. Before the Panama Canal, this was the long way around, but often the only way around. To reach the Pacific, a captain had two choices: thread the twisting Strait of Magellan or face the open sea beyond the Horn. Most chose the open ocean, and many never came back. The Strait of Magellan runs between Patagonia and a maze of islands, a narrow inland waterway that looked like a shortcut but punished ships that tried it. It's long, crooked, and hemmed in by cliffs. Winds ricochet off the mountains and shift direction without warning. Fog settles low, and currents squeeze through narrows strong enough to spin a vessel sideways. Captains spent days tacking back and forth, gaining only a few miles at a time. By comparison, Cape Horn was brutally honest. Open water, deep sea, no blind corners. If you had room, skill, and nerve, you could ride out a storm and keep your ship alive. That's why most big cargo vessels and clipper ships chose it, not because it was safer, but because it was more survivable. South of 50 degrees latitude, there's almost no land, just ocean wrapping around the planet. With nothing to slow it down, wind circles the globe endlessly, gathering force. Sailors call these latitudes the Furious 50s. Between 40 and 60 degrees south, steady westerly winds dominate the planet. They blow almost uninterrupted for thousands of miles, driven by the contrast between cold Antarctic air and warmer subtropical air to the north. Because there's so little land to block them, they gather momentum across entire oceans. By the time they reach Cape Horn, they're among the strongest persistent winds on Earth. Combined with the shape of South America tapering to a narrow tip, these winds are funneled even tighter, speeding up as they race toward the Drake Passage and slamming into anything that tries to pass. Add to that the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, a massive river of ocean flowing west to east around Antarctica. When it reaches the Drake Passage, it's squeezed through like a storm through a funnel. Now add long Pacific swells from one side, Atlantic chop from the other, and a sharp headland where they meet, Cape Horn. The result isn't a clean wave pattern, it's chaos. Long, heavy rollers surge underneath, while short, steep waves crash across them. Winds shift directions, spray freezes on rigging, and sails turn stiff with ice. Even on calm days, seas reach 30 feet, and in storms, they double. Cape Horn doesn't create bad weather, it concentrates it. That's why the sea here feels wrong. Every force in the Southern Ocean collides at once. Rounding the Horn wasn't a single fight, it was a siege. Storms could pin a vessel for weeks. 30 miles gained one day, lost the next. Work never stopped. Men climbed frozen rigging to reef sails as the ship pitched beneath them. A missed footing meant vanishing into black water before anyone could shout. Sleep came in short watches, 4 hours on, 4 off, in soaked clothes, salt-stiffened boots, and freezing air. Even calm brought no comfort. The swell from yesterday's storm rolled beneath the chop from today's wind. The ship never sat still, and from the south drifted ice, slow, silent, and final. A small iceberg didn't need to be large to end a wooden ship. It only had to be unseen. Hundreds of wrecks and thousands of lives were lost near the Horn. But a few stories remain, fragments of what the sea can do. In 1819, the San Telmo, a Spanish warship with more than 600 men aboard, disappeared after battling heavy seas near the South Shetland Islands. Wreckage later washed onto Antarctic shores, the first European trace of that continent. A generation later, a cargo ship bound for London left New Zealand with a hold full of frozen meat. Its last transmission was calm. All well. After that, silence. No distress call, No lifeboats, no debris, just a blank line in a company ledger. In 1938, the German four-masted bark, Admiral Karpfanger, was last heard acknowledging a routine message. Weeks later, fragments of wreckage appeared on a lonely island. 60 men lost. No survivors. Even ships that didn't vanish came close. In 1741, the British warship Voyage was torn from its squadron and thrown onto a barren coast. The survivors endured starvation, mutiny, and years of exile before a handful returned home. And in 1907, the Dundonald ran aground on the sub-Antarctic Auckland Islands. Its crew survived months on seal meat and rainwater before a passing vessel spotted their smoke by chance. Even the most skilled captains learned that the Horn sometimes made the choices for them. In 1788, William Bligh tried to reach the Pacific via Cape Horn. Weeks of hurricane-force gales shredded sails, froze hands, and left his crew exhausted. He turned east and took the long way around Africa instead. In the age of sail, knowing when to quit wasn't cowardice, it was wisdom. Steam power and steel hulls changed the odds, but not the rules. Even today, the Drake Passage can punish modern ships. In 2022, a rogue wave struck an expedition vessel hard enough to shatter windows and kill a passenger. Technology helps you survive Cape Horn, but it doesn't make the sea polite. In 1914, the Panama Canal opened and rewrote global trade. A voyage that once took months around the Horn could now take days through locks and lakes. Steam engines ignored trade winds, and railroads erased entire shipping routes. Overnight, the Horn went from highway to legend. Commercial use never disappeared completely. Some freight and research vessels still round Cape Horn, often to avoid Panama Canal limits or to access Antarctic routes. Modern cargo ships, equipped with radar and reinforced hulls, can withstand what sailing vessels could not. But the weather still dictates the schedule. For ocean racers, rounding the Horn remains a rite of passage, part of global challenges like the Vendée Globe or Ocean Race. Even in the satellite age, the same latitude lines that tested 19th century sailors continue to humble 21st century technology. Ports that once thrived on clipper traffic fell silent, but reputation outlives commerce. For deep ocean sailors, rounding the Horn became a badge of honor. In solo circumnavigation races, clearing it still marks the moment a sailor has faced the worst sea on Earth and is finally pointed home. On Isla Hornos, the Chilean Navy keeps a lighthouse and a memorial shaped like an albatross, wings spread into the wind. Sailors once said the souls of the drowned flew with those birds. It's fitting. The monument faces the seas that took them. Every name on that monument faced the same chaos. To imagine what they saw, think of a highway with 3 lanes merging into one. No exits, no signs, no shoulder. Lane 1, wind that's been circling the globe for weeks. Lane 2, a river of current forced through a narrow gate. Lane 3, swell from yesterday's storm colliding with chop from today's wind. All of it meets a cape, the prow of a continent thrust into their path. Long rollers lift the ship as shorter waves smash from the side. Too little sail, and the sea throws you broadside. Too much, and one gust tears it apart. Here, seamanship isn't skill, it's survival, adjusted minute by minute. Stand there today, if the weather lets you land, and the view is stark. A black headland, white surf, endless gray. The stories don't cling to the rocks. They drift somewhere out there, where charts fade and barometers fall. Cape Horn no longer decides the fate of empires, but it still decides the limits of confidence. It still tells a captain when to wait, and when to admit the sea will win today. The map calls it a point. Sailors know it's a test. Cape Horn remains what it has always been. A passage you don't conquer. At best, you pass through. And for centuries, that's all anyone ever asked, to pass through and live to tell it. If stories of impossible voyages and Earth's most unforgiving places fascinate you, subscribe for more journeys like this one.